और भी आपको बताएं कि तर्जुमान दफ्तर खारजा मुमताज़ ज़हरा बलोच इस वक्त न्यूज़ कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रही हैं।
Dialogue and cooperation in areas of trade, industry, energy, connectivity, science and technology, and education. The two sides will also continue to consult and coordinate on multilateral fora, including at the United Nations and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Deputy Prime Minister Overchuk's visit is taking place in pursuance of the vision of Prime Minister Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif and President Vladimir Putin on transforming bilateral relations into a solid, mutually beneficial economic partnership. A memorandum of understanding between Pakistan Mercantile Exchange and St. Petersburg International Mercantile Exchange was signed yesterday. Pakistan also signed the instrument of accession to the MOU on creation and development of international transport corridor Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Earlier this week, the U.S. Acting Under Secretary of State for Political Affairs, John Bass, and Principal Assistant Secretary of State, Elizabeth Horst, met with Foreign Secretary Amna Baloch and called on Deputy Prime Minister Muhammad Ishaq Dar. The two sides held discussions on a wide range of issues of bilateral engagement and cooperation, including progress in the ongoing dialogues on trade, energy, security, health, climate change, and counterterrorism. Pakistan strongly condemns this week's attacks in Lebanon, carried through detonation of electronic equipments. Use of cyber and electronic means to commit terrorism in foreign countries is reprehensible. We condemn terrorism in all forms and manifestations and offer our deepest condolences to the families of the victims and the people and government of the Republic of Lebanon. These terror attacks are a manifestation of Israel's alarming adventurism in the region, which has endangered regional peace and security. Pakistan reaffirms its support for Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity and calls upon the international community to take urgent steps to hold Israel to account on its acts of international terrorism and violations of international law. Pakistan strongly condemns the Israeli airstrikes of 12 September against an UNRWA-run school-turned-shelter in Gaza. The horrifying massacre that also included deaths of UNRWA staff is yet another crime committed by Israel in Gaza since October last year. These ongoing attacks on civilian targets, including refugee camps, also go against the spirit of ICJ's provisional measures, which call for the provision of essential services and humanitarian assistance to address the challenges faced by the Palestinians in Gaza. Pakistan calls for full implementation of ICJ's advisory opinion delivered on 19th of July this year, which emphasizes the illegal nature of Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories and highlights the urgent need for the international community to uphold the right of self-determination for the Palestinian people. This includes an immediate and unconditional ceasefire to bring about an end to the suffering faced by the people of Gaza. We therefore welcome the United Nations General Assembly resolution to turn the advisory opinion of the ICJ into action. The draft resolution presented by the State of Palestine was co-sponsored by Pakistan. Yesterday, Indian occupation forces conducted the first phase of a farcical election exercise in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. On this occasion, we wish to remind India that given the IIOJK's internationally recognized disputed status, any so-called election conducted in pursuance of the Indian election constitution carries no legal value in the eyes of international law. The relevant UN Security Council resolutions clearly state that the final disposition of Jammu and Kashmir dispute will be made in accordance with the will of the people, expressed through a UN-supervised plebiscite. Any other process cannot therefore serve as a substitute to grant of the right of self-determination of the Kashmiri people. A so-called electoral process held amidst excessive deployment of security forces defies all international standards for the expression of free will of a people who remain under decades-long foreign occupation. The number of Kashmiri political parties prisoners remains in thousands, and 14 political parties have been outlawed. Holding any electoral exercise under Indian supervision is in such an environment of fear and intimidation has no validity whatsoever. Pakistan will continue to extend political, diplomatic, and moral support to our Kashmiri brothers and sisters for the just and peaceful settlement of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute in accordance with the UN Security Council resolutions. Now, I have an important announcement. Prime Minister Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif will participate in the high-level segment for the 79th session of the UN General Assembly in New York from 23rd to 27th of September. He will be accompanied by the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, Senator Muhammad Ishaq Dar, and senior government officials. In his address at the UN General Assembly, the Prime Minister will reaffirm Pakistan's steadfast commitment to multilateralism and express support for the role of United Nations in fostering global peace, security, and prosperity. He will emphasize the importance of addressing long-standing issues on the agenda of the UN Security Council, including the question of Palestine and the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. The Prime Minister will attend several high-level meetings on the sidelines of UNGA session, including the high-level meeting on existential threat posed by sea level rise and the UN Security Council's open debate on leadership for peace. His program will also include bilateral meetings with world leaders, meetings with the UN Secretary General and President of the UN General Assembly, and members of Pakistani diaspora. Similarly, the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister will also have an extensive program consisting of several high-level events and bilateral meetings with his counterparts. He will represent Pakistan at the Summit of the Future, convened by the UN Secretary General on 22nd to 23rd of September. He will also take part in several ministerial meetings, including the OIC Annual Coordination Meeting of Foreign Ministers, the meeting of OIC Contact Group on Jammu and Kashmir, the ministerial meeting of G77 in China, and the Non-Aligned Movements Ministerial Meeting. The Prime Minister's upcoming participation in the 79th UNGA session will be an opportunity to present Pakistan's policy prescriptives on important issues on the global agenda and reaffirm Pakistan's strong commitment to the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and international peace and security. Thank you.
दफ्तर ख़ारजा मुमताज़ ज़हरा बलोच इस वक्त इस्लामाबाद में मीडिया को ब्रीफिंग दे रही थी। उन्होंने कहा कि वज़ीर आज़म शहबाज शरीफ यूएन सेशन में शिरकत करेंगे, नायब वज़ीर आज़म इसहाक़ डार और दीगर अहम अरकान उनके हमरा होंगे। साथ ही साथ उन्होंने कहा कि पाकिस्तान लबनान पर इजरायली साइबर अटैक की भरपूर मजम्मत करता है, गज़ा में जारी इजरायली जारी की भी भरपूर मजम्मत करते हैं।
सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल दबाएं ताकि कोई खबर रह न जाए।